The Senate poll had Baldwin ahead by 9 percentage points. Pollers interviewed 1,000 registered voters for this latest survey. So the newest polls in the first debate, will voter attitudes change maybe again?
UWM Governmental Affairs Professor Mordecai Lee is here. We're going to pick his brain for a few minutes. I think this was, and Ann and I were talking about this when we were getting ready for this newscast, I think this was one of the more substantive debates I have seen in a long time.
Right. They were talking about ideas, they were talking about issues, they were talking about policies. So the voters got to decide, who do I agree with? Not whose dog do I like, whose wife do I like. And in a sense, this is the power of democracy, the power of the ideas.
And you say no big mistakes by anybody.
No, the strategy in these debates is never improvise, never ad lib, never make a mistake, because the media will focus on gaffes. So they were both conservative with a small c, but both of them knew their issues and both of them were attacking each other. And the nice thing about the format is it wasn't so stilted. Instead, they were interacting with each other. Once or twice, in fact, the president interrupted Romney. So it was more free-flowing, and I think Jim Laird did a very good job of keeping it that way.
You know, everybody wants to say, okay, who won, who didn't win. You know, the reality is no one knows who won and who didn't win. We find that out in November. On the scale of things, though, because there were no gaffes, one could look at it and say Mitt Romney sort of is the winner only because everybody knows the president. This is a chance for Mitt Romney to get in front of America and say, here's what I stand for.
Exactly. What happened in 1960 is John F. Kennedy was standing next to Richard Nixon, and people thought, oh, Kennedy, he's too young, he can't be president. He stood up to him in a debate, and people said, well, I can visualize him as president. So, Brad, from your take, one could say that Romney showed that he can be visualized as president. What I found so interesting about what Romney did tonight is that he was more moderate than he was in the primaries. Remember in the primaries he said, I'm a severe conservative.
Sure.
Tonight what he was doing is he was minimizing his differences with the president. He was saying, I agree with the president on X, I only disagree with him on Y. In other words, he's saying the choice is very specific.
Trying to appeal to independence, I presume?
Exactly.
And we've talked about that. You said that that's a real debate tactic. They would never get out on a campaign speech and say, I agree with him, but in the debate, it's actually part of the tactic.
That's right. They're facing each other. They're saying to each other what they've said on the stump, but they're trying to narrow the differences so they get to define what the election is about. And so both of them tonight were trying to say, this is what the election is about.
Mordecai, thank you very much. The next
you.
presidential debate coming up in a couple weeks on October 16th. And of course, next week we have the vice presidential candidates debating. And for more on debate analysis, make sure you tune in to